I'm Stephen Smith from George Washington University. I'm working with colleagues on a couple of BASIS projects. One is in Senegal, the other in Uganda. The project in Uganda is looking at a problem of assistance for farmers, agricultural extension, training farmers, and helping farmers build markets, which they may not have had before. And rather than just looking at asking what's the impact of a new program, we're asking what happens if the program has to stop. Because many programs in Africa run by NGOs and by governments are involved, happen for a while, they're maybe working well for a while, but for one reason or another, often budget problems, as was the case in the project that we're studying, means the program has to stop. Well, in Uganda, we have an NGO partner, and in fact, we're studying their program. It's BRAC, which stands for the Bangladesh Rural Advancement Committee. So you might ask what they're doing in Africa. Well, this is an indigenous developing country NGO, which has been working in Bangladesh since 1972. It's actually #1 ranked on the list of effective NGOs. If the equivalent of US News and World Report, if you want. And I have followed their work for some time. I've done some previous research on one of their major programs in Bangladesh. Beginning about 2002, they decided to share their model with other developing countries. First in Afghanistan, which proved very difficult, and ultimately they withdrew from working there. But then in several other parts of the world, including 6 countries now in Africa. They began with microfinance, which is something that they're a pioneer for. We think of it as something new, but they began microfinance in Bangladesh in 1974, so they've had a lot of experience with this. But I think it was the second program that they undertook, their agriculture program, extension program for training farmers and trying to build markets for farmers to be able to buy improved seeds. So they launched the program in 2009. We have studied the effects of the program in the 2009 to 2011 period, for which we have some data. We know the overwhelming importance of improving agriculture in Africa for ending poverty. People will be living in rural areas in very large numbers for decades to come. Urbanization is proceeding rapidly, but for a long time, the poorest will live in the rural areas. And if we want to address poverty in Africa, it seems that we have to raise productivity among smallholder farmers, especially women smallholder farmers. So it's an idea that interestingly came from the people that we work with in the field. They're often asking, well, you people are saying, if you add another component to the program, how will that help? We have a lot of things that we do. We're wondering what happens, if we stop having a component, stop having a part of the program. Will that matter? And so this idea, again, came from people who are designing and working in the field, led to this idea of randomizing the phase-out of the program. If a program has to end, rather than having it end everywhere at the same time, you can have it end earlier in some places than others. And just as with a medical trial, it's a better and clearer estimate if it's randomized, who's phased out first, who is there longer. And it also happens to have the advantage of being fairer. It's a little bit like drawing straws as to who gets to continue the program. And so we're trying to see just what happens. So far, what we've found, and we're only about halfway through the research period, is that many of the effects seem so far to be sustainable in the sense that yields have not fallen, inputs are still used, and people are still using the new practices. Although again, it's only been 3 seasons since the phase-out, so it's early to say. But unfortunately, so far, we're not finding evidence that the other part of the program, which is to establish village input activities, is sustainable. It seems that while women working with the program were selling seeds in the villages that without the active support of the program, they are doing so less. So very different kinds of results. On the whole, I think encouraging and offering lessons, maybe if you want to build the supplier network, you need to do other things. But that's where we are so far, only about halfway. I and my colleagues think that this is of the greatest importance. And again, this opportunity to look at what happens when you run out of funds for what seems a very good program was a valuable one. We have a lot of respect for BRAC. They're a wonderful partner to work with. They're known for having an excellent in-house research capacity, and they like to work with partners. And it's of special interest, again, to work with an organization that describes itself as a learning organization. And so they say we're interested in learning from program failures as well as program successes. And so we've had a very good partnership with them. BRAC is known for scaling up. The founder of BRAC, Fazal Hassan Ahmed, who recently won the World Food Prize, has said that small is beautiful, but big is necessary. And so they have had an approach in which they try out their programs at a small scale, hone them, try to find out what does work, and then try to find a way to scale up. And they do that within a country, first in one area, such as microfinance in Bangladesh, then in multiple areas where they have found impacts, such as non-formal primary education at one point and oral rehydration therapy at another point, scale this up nationally, and now they're trying to do this internationally. And so within a fairly short period of time, they became the largest, as I understand it, largest microfinance provider in Uganda. So that's their emphasis, and this is one reason we like to work with them, because we think that it's that if you find some effects, they may be replicable at a broader scale. But again, this is what research is about, to find out what is working and why. But in the Uganda example, we are hoping to see, but this is what we're testing, this is what research is needed, that there'll be lasting organization, lasting knowledge that can continue and can help people after, hopefully long after the program ends, if it has to do so.